Stop scrolling for 1 second and grab a pen. I mean that literally, because in the next few minutes I'm going to walk you through 5 Social Security payments that thousands of people watching this are legally owed right now and are not getting. Not because they're ineligible, not because the money isn't there, but because the Social Security Administration is under zero obligation to tell you about it. They wait. They stay quiet. And unless you ask the right question, in the right words, that money just sits there forever. I'm Daniel Carter, and this is Law Explained America. Keep a checklist as we go. Some of you will match one of these, some of you will match 3 or 4, and each one can be worth hundreds of extra dollars a month for the rest of your life. If this channel is new to you, subscribe and turn on notifications, because the rest of this series covers exactly which benefits people miss and exactly how to reclaim them. Let's get into it. One rule to keep in mind before we start. The SSA is a you ask, we pay agency. It does not cross-check your file against a better option and switch you over automatically. It simply pays whatever you formally requested. Nothing more. That single fact is the reason all 5 of these exist. Payment number 1. The Spousal Top-Up. This is the one I see overlooked most, even among couples who've been drawing benefits for years. If your spouse's monthly Social Security check is bigger than yours, you may qualify to receive up to half of their benefit amount, either added to your own or replacing it, whichever nets you more. But the SSA does not compare your 2 records for you. It won't glance at your spouse's benefit, glance at yours, and quietly bump you to the better number. You have to ask. Take a case like this. A retiree in her early 70s in Michigan had been collecting her own Social Security for 6 years. She'd worked part-time most of her married life while raising her kids, so her check was small, under $900 a month. Her husband's was well over $2,500. She assumed the system had already sorted this out when they both filed. It hadn't. Once she specifically asked about the spousal top-up, SSA recalculated her check and raised it by several $100s a month. But here's the catch. The increase only applied going forward. 6 years of missed payments were gone for good, because the correction starts the day you ask, not the day you first qualified. So if you're drawing a benefit based only on your own work record and your spouse's check is noticeably bigger, call SSA at 1-800-772-1213 and ask this exact question. Am I receiving the maximum spousal benefit I'm entitled to based on my spouse's record? Write it down before you dial. Payment number 2. The Early Survivor Strategy. This one's for widows and widowers, and it hinges on a detail almost nobody explains to people until it's too late. Most surviving spouses know they're entitled to survivor benefits. What most don't know is that those benefits can start as early as age 60, and that you cannot apply for them online. Survivor benefits require a phone call or an in-person visit to a local office. SSA will not reach out and offer it to you. Here's where the real money is. A widow at 62 can choose to claim survivor benefits now, anywhere from roughly 71 to 85% of her late husband's benefit, depending on her exact age, while leaving her own retirement benefit completely alone. Her own benefit then keeps growing at about 8% a year until she turns 70. At that point, she switches over to her now much larger personal benefit if it beats the survivor amount. Result: income throughout her 60s, and the highest possible lifetime payout locked in at 70. Nobody at SSA is required to walk you through that sequencing. You have to bring it up yourself, or you'll likely just be told to wait. One more thing that trips people up. If you were already collecting a spousal benefit when your spouse passed, SSA usually converts that automatically to a survivor benefit. But the $255 one-time death payment is not automatic even then. You still have to call and ask for it. Payment number 3. The Fairness Act Correction. This one is for anyone who spent part of their career in public service, teaching, firefighting, police work, federal jobs where they paid into a separate pension instead of Social Security. The Social Security Fairness Act, signed into law in January 2025, wiped out two old provisions, the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset, that had reduced or wiped out Social Security benefits for people in exactly that situation. The fix was made retroactive to January 2024, and SSA has already processed a large wave of corrections, with retroactive lump sums averaging in the thousands of dollars per person, and permanently higher monthly checks on top of that. What's not getting attention is the backlog. Spousal and survivor cases, where the reduction wasn't tied to your pension but your late spouse's, are taking longer to get flagged and corrected. A woman in Colorado only learned about this after seeing a video on the topic. She'd been receiving a reduced survivor benefit for over a decade because her late husband had been a county firefighter. She had no idea the old rules had ever touched her case. One phone call requesting a review was all it took for SSA to confirm the error, recalculate, and issue a retroactive payment. Log into your My Social Security account at ssa.gov and compare your current benefit to what you were getting before January 2025. If it hasn't moved and you or your spouse worked a pension job, call and ask directly. Has my account been reviewed under the Social Security Fairness Act? And is a retroactive payment pending? Payment number 4, the missing earnings year. Grab that pen again because this check takes about 15 minutes and could be worth real money. Your retirement benefit is calculated from your 35 highest earning years, and that data comes straight from what employers reported to the IRS. If an old employer made a filing error, used the wrong Social Security number, or shut down before submitting final payroll records, that year can show up as a flat 0 in your file, permanently lowering your benefit. SSA doesn't flag this. It just runs the math on whatever's in the file. Log into your My Social Security account, pull up your earnings statement, and scan it year by year. If you see a year where you know you were working full-time but the number shows 0, or something absurdly low, that's a gap worth chasing down. One retiree in Ohio did exactly this 2 years before he planned to file, and found 3 years from a company that had gone out of business showing 0 on record. He dug up his old tax returns, filed Form SSA 7008, Request for Correction of Earnings Record, with the documentation attached, and SSA fixed it. His eventual benefit came out $95 a month higher than it otherwise would have, over $1,100 a year, for the rest of his life, from a 15-minute check he nearly skipped. Payment number 5. The do-over window. This last one comes with a hard deadline, and once it closes, it's closed for good. If you filed for retirement benefits within the last 12 months and you're having regrets, your situation changed, you learned about a strategy too late, or you just claimed earlier than you should have, there's an option most people never hear about. Form SSA 521, Withdrawal of Application. Within that 12-month window, you can cancel your claim entirely, repay everything you've received, and refile later at the higher rate as if you'd never claimed in the first place. You only get to use this once. The math can matter a lot. Claiming at 62 instead of 67 cuts most benefits by roughly 30% permanently. Withdrawing and refiling even a year or two later can recover a meaningful chunk of that. If your 12-month window has already closed, there's still a second lever. Once you've reached full retirement age and you're under 70, you can voluntarily suspend your benefit. While suspended, it grows about 8% a year. Suspend for 2 years, and you come back with a 16% permanently higher check. Again, SSA won't suggest this to you. You have to ask for it. And a third variation. If you're past full retirement age and have been claiming for less than 6 months, you can request retroactive benefits, a lump sum covering up to 6 months of payments, with your ongoing monthly benefit recalculated as though you'd filed 6 months earlier. On a $2,000 monthly benefit, that's a $12,000 check. So here's your checklist. Married and your spouse's check is bigger than yours. Ask about the spousal top-up. Widowed and haven't filed for survivor benefits, or didn't know you could start at 60. Call and ask about claiming survivor benefits while your own keeps growing. Ever worked a public service job with a separate pension? Check your My Social Security account for a post-2025 increase and call if there isn't one. Scan your earnings record for any zero-income year that shouldn't be zero, and file the correction form if you find one. Filed within the last 12 months and having second thoughts? The withdrawal form is still on the table. None of these payments show up because SSA noticed you qualified. Every single one requires you to pick up the phone and ask. I'm Daniel Carter. If this helped, subscribe to Law Explained America and send it to someone you know who's on Social Security.